There we go. Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the real deal on buzzwords. We're going to be diving into a couple of the most common buzzwords that we see in the grocery store and on our food, what they really mean and what the underlying message is behind them, and things we need to be aware about when we are looking at our labels and looking at the food and these buzzwords that we hear on a regular basis, and whether or not there's any truth or validity to them. Okay, so we're gonna jump into this. Here we go. So we're gonna I just covered this. Learn more about what they mean, how you can become an informed consumer, because informed consumers make informed decisions about their choices and their health. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen Joldwin. I'm an advanced holistic nutritionist with training in 7 different areas of nutrition. Specifically, my specialty is helping women experience symptomatic relief from PCOS and endometriosis while balancing their hormones, and supporting their families and just making healthy living easier, one bite at a time. And I've been inspired to do that through my own lifelong 17-year long journey of hormone imbalances, specifically with PCOS and endometriosis. And I truthfully now experience symptomatic relief and manage my illnesses, my diseases, whatever you want to call them, simply through lifestyle, without medication, without the need for medical intervention, which feels amazing because it means that I have control over my body and the way that I live my life. But I also have a bachelor's degree in psychology that focused really heavily on human development, both physical and psychological. So I have a really good understanding of how our body and our brain connect and communicate, which has a huge factor and a really big underlying condition, particularly when it comes to nutrition. Okay. And then on the kind of personal side of myself is that I truthfully live a plant-based vegan lifestyle. That is a lifestyle that has brought me that symptomatic relief and brings me a lot of health and joy and energy and just pep in my day. And then I'm also a mama of 1. I am also bilingual in training. So my daughter's first language is French. It is my second language, but the majority of my day I spend speaking or thinking in French so that I can keep up with my family. And so in the evenings, by the time my whole brain is totally exhausted and winding down, I can sometimes actually struggle to remember my English words. So you'll have to bear with me if I lose my train of thought or forget a couple of my words this evening. On particular days, it can get a little bit excessive and just keeping my brain wrapped up between one language and another. So forgive me in advance in case I run into some language barriers, but I'm hoping this evening's gonna go rather smoothly for you tonight. So I want to start you off with something to think about, okay? So your health is not something that you biologically lose as you age. It is something that you build or you give away a little bit each day in what you do and what you don't do. So that's based on the choices that you make on a daily basis is going to determine whether you are building or giving away your health. Okay. And now this is from Jason Calton. He's a PhD, the author of Naked Calories, a fantastic book if you haven't read it. But it's just something for you to think about as I talk about the rest of our topic tonight. Now, when I say the word healthy diet, what comes to mind? You can go ahead and share the first thing that pops into your mind in the chat box. I'd love to actually see what exactly comes to your mind when I say a healthy diet. Okay, we've got, let's see, I'm going to jump in here and see lots of greens. That's fantastic. That's true. That is so true. Okay, so I think probably most of us probably pictured something a little bit like this. Maybe our plate looks like this or our fridge looks like this. Let's see, we've got some more in there. I can figure out how to open it. I can't, so, oh, there we go. Veggies, yeah. See, veggies is a big thing, right? So, and we can see here in this plate or in this diagram that vegetables and fruit are basically 1/3 of this entire image, right? So they're a huge, huge important aspect of our lives and our health, our symptoms that we experience, our energy, and just having good internal balance. Okay, so this is what most of us picture when we think about a healthy diet, or probably a lot of people also probably just picture a huge salad, right? Now, did you know though that 70% of the items in a grocery store are processed in some way? And unfortunately, 60 to 70% of the items that the majority or the average person purchases is moderately to highly processed. When that means that healthy diet realistically, ideally it looks like this, but realistically 60 to 70% of the time it does not look like that because we are bombarded by so much products. Okay, I'm going to call them products because they're not all particularly food. Okay, and that's because of what's on the label, right? The package. And if we just look back at this image here really quickly in this grocery store, you can see a ton of colors. And I know it's a very blurred, quick photo, but you can see a ton of colors, a lot of variation, some snazzy, snappy images that just scream out to you, right? That is packaging. And what that really is that is marketing. Okay. So the purpose of a package is to do two things. One, to attract your attention. So there are big, bold letters. There is bright colors. It is strategically placed on a shelf at eye level for you to see it, for you to want it, for you to buy it. And then everything on the front of that package is, scientifically created to encourage you to buy it. So whether that be the words on it, the colors on it, the placement on the shelf, right? So if you ever look in the cereal aisle, you'll notice that all the heavily sugared cereals, the ones that are, marketed to children, they're all at eye level for children. Have you noticed that? They're all between 2 and 4 feet on the shelf, whereas the other ones are, looking between 4 and 5 feet on the shelf. And yet the healthiest ones are probably even higher than that, maybe at the 5 or 6 foot mark of the shelves, right? So everything on these packages is designed to attract your attention and encourage you to buy. Now, what else is on these packages? Because the front of the package is designed to make you buy. But it's the back of the package that we really need to be worried about. Okay. The front of the package is where we're going to run into these buzzwords. Okay. This is where we're going to run into these words that catch your attention. They're so snazzy and they're in with the new phase and the fads and the crazed diets, and they're popular and they are misleading. Okay. The back of the package, though, is where we really want to be looking. We want to be looking at the calories. How many are there? Where is the source of those calories come from? What is the serving size of the food that you're looking at? Nutrition labels. This is really important. We should be looking at the protein content, the fat content, the sugar content. Oops, that's in there twice. One of them should say carbohydrate content. Even fiber, we should be looking at fiber, and then the vitamin and mineral content. And then now that we know the nutrition aspect of the food that we're looking at, we need to also be considering where is that nutrition coming from. So what ingredients are in this food product that we are considering buying that has, screamed at us from the shelf? What is in it? How many ingredients are there? Is it a small list of 1 to 5 items, or is the list, 10 to 15 items and half of them you can't even pronounce? What is the source of those ingredients? Are they sustainably sourced? Are they non-GMO? Are they organic? Are they, and again, more buzzwords there, but it's important to understand where this food's being sourced from. For certain foods, it is important to ensure that you are eating non-GMO and organic options such as corn and soy, okay? But knowing the source of those ingredients, or even just understanding what words they're hiding behind. So, you may see an item that doesn't have sugar specifically in the ingredient list, but instead it has high fructose corn syrup, it has glucose, it has brown rice syrup, and it has molasses. Well, that right there is 4 different types of sugar, all hiding behind no sugar on the label, right? So understanding where your ingredients are coming from can really help you ensure that when you're choosing a package, that you're choosing it because it's healthful and not because the package on the front is trying to get you to buy it, okay? We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So common buzzwords that we run into in the grocery store, and I want to talk about a few of these. There are so many. I could list probably 10 or 15 off the top of my head, but I want to talk about a few of them here, okay? Number 1 is sugar-free. in the previous slide, I had mentioned how we, you know, we could be looking on the label and the label the in the ingredient list, and there's no sugar actually listed on the label, right? And yet on the front of the package it says sugar free. So you're thinking that's great. I can I can eat this, if you're trying to be sugar free, you can eat it and it falls within your restrictions, or you can feel confident giving it to your children. But unfortunately, like I showed you earlier, um, a lot of foods hide behind different names. Okay, and sugar is one of the worst of them. It actually hides behind over 50 names. There are 50 different names for sugar. And so the way, the way that our food agencies regulate labeling, there is not a ton of regulation in the way these words are used, which means it can say sugar free on the front of the package. That encourages you to buy it. It falls within your dietary requirements or restrictions or standards that you may have. But when you flip it around and you take a look at the actual ingredients, you will find various forms of sugar, just not listed as sugar. And so understanding that can help you kind of avoid that incidence of falling for that buzzword. Okay, but you need to also consider too, let's assume that there really is no refined sugars of any kind in the food that you're looking at. You need to think, if the sugar has been removed from an item or a type of food that would normally contain sugar, what has been added in replace of the sugar to make that food enjoyable, palatable, likable, and wanting you to buy it again. So in oftentimes, there are more fats added, there are more salts added, and so this food that may appear healthy because it's labeled as sugar free, unfortunately then has really high levels of sodium, really high levels of saturated and trans fats that would be counteracting any health benefits that you may be looking for or trying to achieve by going sugar free. So that's one of the buzzwords that is like always out there, right? Another one is all natural. And we think all natural, that's great. It doesn't have anything synthetic, right? It means that there's no added colors or flavors and there's no synthetic substances. But that doesn't always mean that it's healthy, because then again, we have to think, well, what is in it instead? What is in it that is making it enjoyable for us to eat? Because if it is a man-made product, there must be something in it to make it taste good, to make us want it to buy it again. So, for example, um, now this one's kind of like a really like weird and really gross actually comparison, but many foods can contain things called natural flavorings. Okay, and those natural flavorings, yes, they're not synthetically made in a lab, for instance. They're not a synthetic substance, but they would come from something, say, the grease and oil from a beaver. Okay, like a beaver has a scent gland near the back of their tail. It releases an oil like a grease, and that is actually added to foods to give a raspberry flavor, to give a strawberry flavor, to give vanilla flavors, and that is labeled as natural flavoring. Okay. Now, if that grossed you out, leave me a comment in the chat box, because I know when I first learned that and started digging into what these words really mean and where these sources of flavors and color enhancers come from, even when they're labeled as natural, I was really grossed out. So if you're grossed out too, give me a high five in the chat box there. So that doesn't always mean that that doesn't mean it's unhealthy, but it's, something to think about, when we're eating, say, I don't know, a muffin, raspberry muffin, like you don't really want to be thinking about where that raspberry flavor is coming from. You want it to have come from raspberries. So all natural doesn't always mean that it's healthy, and it doesn't always mean that everything inside is specifically coming directly from nature, but it could be an enhancement of what nature offers. So a little bit scary there. Another one is made with real fruit. Now, when I started my healthy living journey, this was one that I fell for all the time. I was so horrible for it. Okay. So I used to buy like lunch snacks for myself and my husband. And I would buy all those, those little packages of fruit gummies, right? Like the little packages that have like 8 gummies in them. They're so delicious, and they're made with real fruit. And it says it right on the label, big, bold letters, made with real fruit. And I thought, awesome. It's made with real fruit, so they can't be that bad, right? Wrong. Okay. So oftentimes when a food is labeled as being made with real fruit, it's really just made with the juices, okay? And unfortunately, the juices of a whole fruit or of a real fruit don't contain as many nutrients as the whole fruit itself, okay? And it also contains all of that natural sugar from fruit, which normally would be okay for our body to ingest when we eat it as a whole food substance. Okay, so when we eat, say, a whole orange as opposed to orange juice, the sugars in that whole orange are metabolized a little bit differently and slower and in a more healthy manner because of the fiber of the orange. Okay, but when we drink just the juice, there's no fiber in there, and this goes for all fruits. Okay, there's no fiber in there to slow down that absorption of the sugar. And so you get this huge sugar spike of like an insulin spike in your blood sugar levels, which then, of course, leads us to insulin resistance. If this becomes a continuous pattern, type 2 diabetes, we run into other issues of cardiovascular disease and all kinds of other health issues, including obesity, stomach issues, even brain fog and mental awareness and clarity can be affected by our blood sugar levels. Okay. So being made with real fruit doesn't necessarily mean that it is healthy, and it's such an easy one to fall for because we're all trying to add more fruits and vegetables to our diet. We're all trying to do it. We know that we should be. We know that there are huge health benefits to doing so. And so when we see those words, we think, great, this is such an easy way for me to do it and enjoy it. But then we also have to consider, what else is it made with, right? So those little adorable, delicious little fruit gummies that I was buying were made with high fructose corn syrup, sugar, honey, gelatin, and all kinds of other ingredients to make this little gummy. And then it was just flavored with the fruit juice of real fruit. So, again, another like buzzword, and this one's really common in children's food snacks and lunch snacks, right? So one to think about. And then another one is fortified. This is a really great one. And I bring this one up because as a vegan and as a plant-based eater, it's important for me to ensure that I'm getting all my nutrients, being intentional about it, right? And so when I do my grocery shopping, and even with the clients that I work with who are transitioning to vegan or plant-based lifestyles, it's important that they understand where their nutrients are coming from on a regular basis from their meals to ensure that there are no nutritional gaps. But when a food has been fortified, you have to wonder, what happened to the nutrients that were in the food to begin with. So if we take a look at pasta, why would pasta need to be fortified? Well, if we were buying a white pasta, what's happened is the whole grain of the white flour has basically been stripped, okay, and it's been refined until it's this very simple piece uh, left over of the grain of flour. Then this is turned into pasta, and this is referred to as refined white flour or refined white carbohydrates or pasta. And so what happens here, unfortunately, most of the nutrients of a grain, or of our carbohydrate grains, are actually in the full seed and not in the little bit that's left over after the refining process. And so that has been stripped of all of its nutrients. And so if we're looking at, say, white pasta, and it's got, high levels of folate and iron and even like B vitamins, you have to wonder, well, where did these come from? It's because they've been added back in. They've after this product has been created, these nutrients have been added back in. So why are they being added to the food, right? Well, it's because those nutrients were stripped from the food in the refining process. And so what's happening here is that we have synthetic nutrients being added to our food products. And our body doesn't recognize synthetic vitamins. We're actually going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay. But it's important to understand, that fortified is, a very big common buzzword these days because so many people are moving towards a plant-based diet. And so they're looking to make sure that they're getting all their nutrients. And I'm not saying don't buy fortified foods. I'm saying understand where the nutrients are coming from when you're looking at fortified foods, and understand that the fortified foods should not be the main component of your diet. They shouldn't be the main aspect of why you're buying it. It should be a supplementation to what you're doing from a whole food plant-based um, aspect, so approach. So trying to get as many fruits and vegetables and whole grains and clean sources of protein and healthy fats into your diet, so that you're getting real nutrients from real whole food sources as often as possible, and you're just using these fortified foods as a supplementation to getting your real nutrients from whole food. So it's clear to see that our food quality is decreasing substantially. When we look at all of these labels, we see preservatives and flavor enhancers, synthetic vitamins, like I just talked about, trans fats, growth hormones, less nutrients, GMO. Like there's just so much of our food quality that's decreasing. And it can feel really, really overwhelming. And then when you add in the fact that, the front of that package is designed to just sell to you, we lose our connection to our food. We lose our connection to knowing what good food is, to knowing what labels to trust, because there's just so many words out there. Actually, I encourage you. I'm going to ask you right now, what 3 buzzwords can you think of off the top of your head that you see on a regular basis? I dare you to put them into the chat, because I bet you all of you will have probably either very different ones, or you may only overlap on a few, because there are so many buzzwords that we run into on a daily basis. So I went over 4 of them. I know I can think of even just plant-based is one, low calorie is another. I see some of us have some of us are going into the chat box. That's awesome. Let's see here. Let's see what everybody's. Sugar-free, fat-free, low fat, exactly. Even like low calorie. Another really common one is well, like plant-based even is a really common one. So if we take a look at, the plant-based burgers, a lot of these, unfortunately, yeah, all natural is another one. These plant-based meat alternatives, unfortunately, are just synthetic chemicals designed to replace a meat option. And truthfully, from a health standpoint, you're better off eating a real burger versus a plant-based synthetic meat burger. Okay. So they're great for using in place in your transition and as you work your way through your journey, but they're not something you would want to use as a regular part of your diet, because they are still loaded with all of those chemicals and high levels of sodium, high levels of fats to increase the flavor and to hide all the other ingredients that are in there. Okay. So yeah, low sodium is another one. There's just so many words out there, right? So this is great. I love, yeah. Okay. I love that everybody's doing that. That's awesome. But pretty scary, right? Like there's just so many words. So we really don't want to be, we don't want to be trusting the words. We want to be trusting what's on the label behind it. Okay. So the front of the package designed to grab your attention and to encourage you to buy, but the back of the package is the information that you need to be an informed consumer and make healthy choices. Okay. Now, when we don't do that, when we allow ourselves to just mindlessly grab things off the shelf based on what's on the front of the package, it is leading us to health issues. We're leading into illness and disease, like more heart disease, diabetes, low immunity, obesity. These are all things that we deal with on a regular basis when we are allowing these buzzwords to lead and guide our decisions. But we're also running into hormone imbalances, ladies, endocrine disruption, mood disorders, sleep disorders, reproductive concerns, weight gain, thyroid issues even. And then we move into the fact that when we are buying foods that have poor nutritional value, meaning they're not nutritionally dense, as in whole food would be. Whole food has um, no waste. When we eat it, we absorb what's in it, and the waste is just fiber. Okay, and the waste is the fiber allows us to eliminate toxins from our body. Okay, when we eat processed foods or foods that have these buzzword labels, we are losing or robbing ourselves of the opportunity to put something healthier into our body, something that is going to support good nutrition within our body. And so when we do that, we are supporting malnutrition within our body. We are supporting rapid aging, poor skin and hair growth. We're supporting brittle nails, even damaging our DNA at a cellular level, storing toxins, and even supporting food cravings because our body is nutritionally starved of what it truly needs, which is real, whole foods. So I know what you're thinking. Well, it's okay, Jen. I will just take a multivitamin and I will cover all those gaps. Well, as I touched on a little bit earlier, multivitamins are synthetic vitamins that are made in a lab. They're made by chemists and they are isolated. And what that means is that our body has to filter out so much of them because they're such high content, right? They're very concentrated levels of the vitamins, which is way more than our body recognizes as being necessary and as being, there's my French brain taking over. um, sorry there. Yep. Put my French brain to sleep here. Okay, so our body filters out a lot of these vitamins because they don't recognize them as natural, right? They're synthetic, and so our body thinks of them as a toxin. There, my English brain kicked back in. Here we go. So our body filters out a lot of these multivitamins, and because they're isolated vitamins, our body doesn't recognize them as being useful in the same way that they would be as if we were getting these vitamins from their natural source of whole foods. So here you can see the comparison between the nutrients in a multivitamin versus what's in, say, one apple. Everything in a multivitamin fits on a label. Everything in an apple wouldn't even fit on this page. There are over 10,000 phytonutrients in an apple. And the really cool thing is that when we get our nutrients from whole food, we have those nutrients working in synergy with each other and with other nutrients from the food that we eat so that we get an appropriate balance, the appropriate absorption and assimilation of those nutrients and appropriate use of those nutrients, which is so much different than taking a synthetic isolated vitamin that our body is really just going to filter out as a toxin. Okay, so nature really needs no hype. Nature does not need a buzzword. Okay, real foods, whole foods contain what we need. They contain the macronutrients. There's a reason why there are no labels on our fruits and vegetables, right? Because it has what we need. It has our micronutrients, our proteins, our carbohydrates, our fat, the fiber content to help ensure good absorption rates. It has the micronutrients, so all of our vitamins and our minerals and our phytonutrients, they are nutrient dense. Like I said earlier, there is no waste in that food. All of those calories are useful to our body. All of those nutrients are useful to our body. And there is no harmful effects of that whole food in comparison to, say, a processed food that would have those labels and those buzzwords written on them, right? And then they're working in synergy with each other. So, like I mentioned on the last slide, that all of this food, all of those nutrients that our body is absorbing from real whole foods work together to encourage, protect, and maintain a balance within ourselves. So here are a couple of tips for success for you to help you avoid there we go. To help you avoid those buzzwords. Okay, number one, choose foods that don't have a label. If they don't have a label, you know that they're whole, real foods. Okay. Then I want you to, if you are choosing foods that have labels, I want you to read the label, not the package. Don't read the front of the package. That's not what you need to know. What you need to know is written behind it. Okay, so turn that food over. So what that means, sometimes that means giving yourself a little bit of extra time in the grocery store. So don't go right before a meal when you're hungry. Don't bring the kids. Spend a little bit of time, bring that list, and understand the different options that you have from the various types of food that you are shopping for. Okay. Sorry. Okay. And then choose foods with the least amount of ingredients. So ensuring that sticking between 1 and 5 ingredients within a food is going to ensure that you're getting something as close to nature as possible. Shop the perimeter of the store. This is where you're going to find your healthiest foods. The perimeter of the store has mostly fresh foods. Okay, that's where you're going to find the foods that have an expiration date. The ones within the center of the store are the ones that are going to be more processed, more refined, more likely to be fortified, and have those buzzwords. Okay. Then work on eliminating one buzzword at a time. So take a look at what you have in your pantry right now and take a look at the words that are written on those packages. And maybe you're going to see a pattern. Maybe you see that a lot of those words have the same type, or a lot of those packages have the same type of buzzword or the same theme going on. And so that will, be like a light bulb to you that says like, oh, wait a second, I am attracted to this buzzword, so I need to understand why, and I need to understand what it is about these foods that is attracting me to it, so that I can be sure to, work at eliminating that buzzword and work to actually maybe replace that item with a whole food source. Okay. So finding healthier alternatives to your favorite convenient foods. So perfect examples of that, instead of buying, muffins in the middle of the store or the muffin packages, just make yourself an at-home DIY muffin mix. Store it in a jar, just a dry mix. Store it in a jar, and then when you're ready, you can pour that into your bowl. Add your binder and your liquid, mix it up, add your fruit and whatever it is your spices, whatever it is you want to make those muffins into, and pop it into the oven. Okay, so just little ways to find alternatives that make it convenient, so that you're not turning to those convenience foods that are most likely to have that high level of processing and those buzzwords that catch your attention. And then another really great way to at least support your body nutritionally, regardless of how you're eating, and all the all those buzzwords that are coming into us, is to support your body at a cellular level with the Juice Plus products, which has over 30 fruits and vegetables, berries, grains, and oils, is scientifically shown to support our body at a cellular level. And we talked, a lot about tonight how the value of fruits and vegetables. We're all looking for easier ways to do it. This is probably by far the easiest. And truthfully, if I had known about this way back when I was buying those ridiculous sugar-filled gummies made with real fruit, I definitely would have opted for these, because these actually come in a convenient either capsule or delicious little gummies. So I definitely would have opted for those if I had known about them way back then. And I'm so glad now, obviously, that I know about them, because now I can actually kind of satisfy that, that craving and that snacky feeling I get sometimes, and wanting to enjoy a gummy of some kind. Another really great way is the complete shakes. Okay, so these are vegan. They're made with non-GMO ingredients, which is important. Gluten and dairy free. Again, there's more buzzwords in there, but it's not a buzzword when it's true. Okay, this is not a buzzword to catch your attention. This is a buzzword to inform you, because these shakes are designed to help you, A, stabilize your blood sugar, and B, replace those unhealthy convenience items with something healthier, because it is so convenient and it is so delicious. And there is only food on the label. There's only food on the label. So you're not they don't taste good and are easy and convenient because they're highly processed. They taste good because they are made with real whole foods, which is incredible. So it comes in 2 awesome flavors, vanilla and Dutch chocolate. Incredible. Now, I will say one thing. I have very high standards for food. Um, Sometimes a little bit ridiculously high, can be a little bit cumbersome for my husband. Poor guy. He offers to make food all the time and then regrets his decision because he can't meet my standards. So, but I will say that These shakes are one of the very few convenience items that I actually bring into my home because it passes my standards, it passes my level of standards for having real whole food and clean ingredients and very minimal processing. Okay. So if you're looking for something very clean where you don't have to compromise taste and convenience, I definitely recommend that you give the complete shake a try. Now, the Juice Plus products are super unique, okay? They are food, so they're not a multivitamin. But as we talked about earlier, real whole food supports our body in such a better way than multivitamins do, right? So the Juice Plus products have a food label. They're made with non-GMO ingredients. They're dairy and gluten free. Okay, they're NSF certified. Now, me here as a nutritionist, number two and number three is so important to me as a professional. Okay, so number two being NSF certified means that what's on the label is in the actual capsules, and what's in the capsules is in the label in terms of all the products, okay? Not just the capsules, but the gummies and the bars and the shakes, which is really cool because it means it's totally transparent. There's nothing hidden, and it has passed third-party validation that these products are clean and safe for consumption, okay? But they're also the most researched brand in the world, which is a huge deal for me with a psychology background. And I actually studied a ton of psychometrics and statistics. So I have actually dug into some of this research. It's amazing. Okay. Like it's positively showing that it is, or it is significantly showing that it's positively affecting the body in such amazing ways, which is incredible. So a really great product that at least I, as a professional, can get behind and feel comfortable recommending. And here, what it's really doing is it's bridging that gap for you between what you should be eating and what you probably are eating. So it's not realistic for us to assume that we can get rid of all the buzzwords in our life and get rid of all the convenience foods. But it's realistic to think that we could try eating more fruits and vegetables, and that in that gap, we could take an easy and convenient supplement that would help bridge that gap between those two ideals. Okay. Then the really great thing, and I really have to share this because this is so cool for me as a mom personally, is that for every adult order of the Juice Plus, your kids can actually get one for free. Okay, so for every adult order, you can enroll one child for free in the Healthy Starts program, and you can see here that parents in the family health study are reporting that 60% of kids are missing fewer days of school. 56% were taking less over the counter medication. 66% were visiting doctors less, which right now is a huge deal because doctors are backed up. Most people don't want to go into a doctor's clinic. And it just gives us more safety and security knowing that we don't have to expose ourselves out into possibly high risk areas. And then 61% of kids are actually eating more fruits and vegetables because when we put good food into our body craves good food, which is incredible. So for up to 4 years, your kids can get these gummies or a capsule, but gummies are way more fun, of course, for free with each paying adult order, which is so cool. So not only are you getting yourself healthy and bridging that gap, but for kids, obviously, who are always going through picky eating stages, it's a super great way, an easy, convenient way, healthy way for them to bridge that gap. And then, of course, looking at jumpstarting your health with the products, because if you are bridging that gap, you might as well keep going. Okay. So, the Shred is a jumpstart to your health. It's a lifestyle program that looks at 10 simple, healthy living guidelines with group coaching, free e resources, cookbooks, recipes, and so much fun to help you continue the momentum of getting healthy, staying healthy, and building a healthy lifestyle. Okay. And it's super affordable. You can see right here, like most of us on a daily basis are spending $4 or more on those iced, sugar loaded, caffeine loaded drinks. And you can see here for less than that every day, you can be supporting your body in that nutritional gap that we all have. So, if you are looking to get started or you were curious and had more questions, it's really simple. So, how to get started on your healthy living journey, buzzword free. Okay. Number one, connect with the friend who invited you here tonight. Number two, order your real food, whole food nutrition, and start shredding to reduce your processed foods, because that is one of the biggest things in Shred that we can be doing. Two things: one, adding more fruits and vegetables; two, reducing our processed foods. We are going to experience huge momentum in our health when we do those two things. Okay. And then number three, I just want you to question every label and package of food that you look at. because when you do, you will become an informed consumer. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. I'm just going to pop over to the chat box and see if there are any questions. But I definitely appreciate all of you being here tonight. So thank you all so much.